Hello and welcome. I'm Maria,
And I'm Rachel,
and we're your hosts of the Remember Me podcast.
and we're very happy you're here with us today.
Remember Me is dedicated to preserving the memories of those affected by dementia and the families walking alongside them.
We've created this space for you to feel more connected and supported.
And we hope these stories allow for a deeper understanding and a sense of belonging.
And shine a light on our motto, accept the good.
Always, always accept the good.
This is Remember Me.
Do you want to kick this one off?
Whoa, that's an aggressive move first thing in the morning.
I need you to do it.
Okay, so today, which one am I looking at? So today we're here with each other, back in studio. I don't like it. You got to do it. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Today, it's going to be a juicy episode.
Ooh, good. See, this is why you're the introer.
But I'm nervous.
I know. It's a little touchy.
We said that this season is going to be, I think we're always authentic and raw and honest, and that's what people say on and on and on. Thank you. But I think last season we covered family dynamics, and I think that's such a huge part of the journey, and we finally started talking about it in season 10 in like a big way. But I think it's time for us to kind of talk about our own journeys.
Also, can we just say, like, Nick does this really well. Like, he'll be able to say to me, I see your point, but there's a flip side.
Okay.
Right? So I have a hard time seeing the flip side. Like, I only see it through my eyes.
It's a really good point.
So I will say, when we hear these stories or when we discuss our own personal family issues or whatnot, there's a totally other side.
Of course.
Right?
This is just our view.
Right. With that being said, I think it's important to know, like, everybody's going to handle situations differently. Mm-hmm. And the way I handled something may not be the way you, and we're so quick to judge. So when we're listening to this, or when you're listening to this, this is a judgment-free episode.
And people can't judge us.
I mean, people for sure judge us. We're pretty easy to judge. But like what you tell me, I'm not going to judge you.
Oh, I know that.
I know. But I wanted you to feel open.
Thank you. It's interesting, too. We have such different family dynamics because you're an only child and I have 3 siblings. And
your birth order, I'm sure, plays a role into
oldest child is big part of my personality and a big part of like how my caregiving role was formed.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
And I think some of that's birth order and some of that's just like who
personality.
I am. But
I have a good question.
Okay.
It just sparked it. Do you believe people come out a certain way? Like, do you believe it's nature or nurture?
That's a great question. I think it's a little of both.
Okay.
But like now that I have children, I feel like Liam was hardwired a certain way from like the minute he came out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like we can nurture different parts of that, but like I think like who he was and like independent and like strong-willed, like I saw it at like 2 months old.
Okay.
And then my therapist was like, that's impossible.
I don't know if Dr. Spock agrees with you. Do you want to ask me what I think?
Oh, yes, please.
I think the same as you. I think that you come out cut from a certain cloth, but if you're nurtured a certain way, you're going to be that certain way.
Okay.
Right? Like if you're nurtured soft and grown up, or you're growing up with kindness and affection, maybe the form that you once took could be altered a bit. But I think people are hardwired a certain way.
Okay.
I don't believe people can change.
Oh.
I think you are who you are.
Like at your core.
Yes. Like if you have a habit that you want to break, sure, you could change like that. But I think deep down, your beliefs, the way you see the world, all of that is like who you are.
But it has changed and evolved over
It can evolve.
time.
It can evolve. But to like completely go rogue from who you were, I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like we've talked about like there's different categories. There's kind of like a there's people when this happens, like their family is struck by this, that run away. There's people that face it head on. And there's probably another category that I don't know how to name, but like, yeah, I think there's definitely people like that and they don't really change, right?
Right, but I'm even talking more like, I don't think I'm the same as I was in third grade. I think I've evolved, but I think the way I see the world is the same. I've just grown up. I've just matured.
Like glass half full, glass half empty.
Yes,
like
yeah,
that
there's
kind
like
of
core components to who you are.
Okay. So would you say then, we're just going to get right into it, like the way that people react to, we'll bring it to FTD, the way that people react to the diagnosis is just based on their nature.
Yes. 100%.
And they were like that before, but maybe the diagnosis and all the family chaos around it exposed even more
Or
of their role.
exacerbated it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not changed by it in a way that they're totally changed. Who they are.
No, I think it could bring something out in you, or it could lower something in you, but I don't think it's like I was a quiet, meek child and then my dad got diagnosed with FTD and now I'm a outspoken, raging. But
Okay.
that's just my belief.
Okay. It's a good starting place.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, take us into it.
So this is a really difficult thing to talk about on the podcast because one thing that I've always thought is like, I always want to leave the door open for reconciliation in relationships. I never want to burn bridges, but as we've said before, you know, every time we have people on the podcast and before we start recording, we'd say, hey, is there anything you don't want to talk about? Every single time, what do they say?
I don't want to talk about my sister. I don't want to talk about my aunt. I don't want to talk about my dad's best friend. There's always one relationship that they don't want to touch.
Right.
And I understand what you're basically shouting it from the rooftops.
Right.
Like you're advertising it in a way.
Right.
And I get that it's really,
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very delicate. And some people are very open and it is what it is. And some people are, you know, they want to make it copacetic and no issues.
Right.
And I'm one of those people. I don't want to put everything out here.
Right.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, but like the conversations that we're having on a day-to-day basis, we're like sifting through and supporting each other through the many changes in our family relationships.
I also think, kind of going back to previous episodes, like, yes, FTD came in and dismantled things, but also like we started our own families and we had children and we started a business, like things.
Right.
It wasn't just our family fell apart or our family did this or like there were other things at play.
Right.
And I think that's something that people don't maybe necessarily stop to look at. Like, yes, I'm caregiving, but I'm also a mother, a softball president, you know, like there are other things going on in your life. And sometimes those things make the caregiving journey more pleasant and sometimes they make it more difficult.
Right.
And I think as we sit here in this sweet little podcast studio, we're both tiptoeing around the fact that maybe this experience has shifted our families
Yes.
and has brought up things in other people that were like, wait.
Yeah.
But now that I'm on this side of it and I've had some time to process and understand and try and see other people's point of view, like I'm no better or I'm no more not what's another word for affluent? Like I'm more superior because I did A, B, or C. I truly believe that people that were involved in my dad's care did the best that they could. Was it the best that I think he deserved? No. But I think people that were on his care team, that's what they could give.
So you're at peace with that? No.
Hard no. No, I'm kidding. It's difficult because I think when my dad got sick, instead of maintaining boundaries and like a parent-child relationship, my mom and I like clung to each other. Like we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know like, okay, FTD, and then his mom had something similar. Like it was like we were caught in the wave of like as it was crashing and we're trying to find up, and to catch our breath. And when things settled and my dad was placed in a facility, I went one way and my mom kind of went the other. And both, I think, happened because we really wanted self-preservation. And the way I self-preserved was different. And I think when something is different, it could be viewed as bad or wrong. And we've had talks and we've had time apart and we've had time together. And I think we're both still wrestling with the fact that this just sucks.
Yeah.
The bottom line is it's not easy and there's no right or wrong. I think that's the whole point. That's what I was saying about the judgment at the beginning. Like the way I handled it versus the way she handled it, I don't know who's to say what's right and what's wrong.
But certain things hurt you.
Of course. And I know certain things hurt her.
Yeah.
And I have to assume certain things probably hurt him, So
that was hard for me too.
Yeah.
Like thinking, oh my God, she deserves so much more from this person,
Yeah, right. And I battled with the ideas of, I wanted her to have my dad live with her. And then I'm thinking, well, then her life is put on hold.
Right.
So it's like this, it's a very uncomfortable topic to have these open dialogues about because her viewpoint is so far removed from mine.
Right.
And I know she struggles with what could I have done or how could this have happened? And I don't. Like, I feel like I was in the frying pan with him. I tried to take care of him the best way I could. And she has said things like, I wish things were different, number one.
Yeah.
But like, I wish I didn't have so much guilt. And I don't have guilt. I'm happy with the way I loved him. And I know she did too. I know she loved him. And I know he loved her. It's just, I think when you are faced with these big decisions, and it's not like they have to be decided right then, but like kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody has to do it.
Right. And I don't know. My dad's siblings, my mom's siblings, everybody just sort of fell apart. And I've made peace kind of with all of it. I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're malicious. I think on Judgment Day, that's their cross to bear. You know, it doesn't have anything to do with me.
Do you need your cult glasses or?
Sorry, was that too culty? It's not like a religious thing. It's just,
I resonate with that so much because I remember watching and judging, truly judging some of my siblings and how they were interacting or not interacting with my mom. And I don't feel good about that I did that. But I think this was before we were really friends, but I already had started to be like going in. Okay, only you can control you. Like Frank Baffa famously
only you can control you, cutie.
Would say. And just like you were saying earlier, I had no regrets on how I cared for her, how I showed up for her, how I showed up for my dad. Like, and maybe they don't have any either, but like I don't need to take that on. All I can control is myself, and I know I did everything I possibly could. And something that was super helpful to me, I don't know how much I want to share about what exactly happened, but there was a conflict in our family over a decision that was made for my mom. And one of my siblings had, I think I can fairly say, a outburst. It really rattled me. And it's like even kind of hard for me to think about now because I was in such a fragile state already. And then just the anger, and it's just startling. And it was really, really hard for me to process that. And I was pretty upset by it for a long time. And we did this writing exercise. And I can't remember the name of the guy who did it. This was years ago. He was an author that came on and did one of our writing workshops.
He was great.
Oh God, I can't remember his name. Well, it'll come to me. And he said to pick a memory from the caregiving journey. And I think he was like, pick a hard one. And now write about that event from someone else's perspective that was there. And I chose the event. And I was just, I'm sorry I'm being vague, but that conflict. And I wrote it from this person's perspective. And it really changed how moving forward I had more empathy.
Eric?
Sorry.
His name was
Eric. He was wonderful.
Great. Shout out Eric.
And yeah, I think, I think sometimes we're like, oh, it must be too hard for them. Or it might, like, I think we put on people what we think is the reason they're not doing things. And it's just, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know what they're going through. And not to say all is forgiven, but I think it's just important to, you can control you. And I don't know, maybe just have a little bit of empathy for, like, sometimes I want this empathy extended to me that, like, I lost my mom, but sometimes I feel like in my family as the oldest, like, I'm not allowed to be as sad.
Yeah, because you have to keep it all together.
Yeah. But, like, I'm always trying to be empathetic towards everybody else in my family. Like, they lost, like, and with my dad, I'm like, he lost the love of his life. And all these relationships are so different. And I just, who am I to judge and understand what other people are thinking? You're giving me a look.
I didn't mean to give you a look. I was trying to think, like, how could I?
Yeah.
Because I don't have siblings, so I can't.
It's so different.
Yeah.
It's so different. It's so hard, too, because I feel like as the oldest, and I'm sure any oldest children listening would resonate with this, like, I feel like there is the burden of everybody else's emotions on with everything that happens. It's not just how do I feel, it's how do they feel. Or maybe that's just my personality. I don't know. I think it's a part of the oldest child thing. Is always, and we have to talk about it all the time. Like, I don't need to take on their stuff. But my family was such a tight-knit family growing up, and I feel like I realized that my mom was the center of that, and she held that all together. So when she couldn't do that anymore, like, I felt like we had to reimagine what all of our relationships were and figure out how to communicate with each other, because we didn't know
what to do.
Yeah, we didn't know how, because I think that she was the buffer. Like, she knew she was.
Yes, she's the ref.
Yeah, she was. And so then when that's gone and emotions are heightened and people are seeing things different ways, it's like chaotic.
Yeah.
You know?
See, we didn't have that. Like, there was no, like, huge disagreements. Like, how could you? Like, there was none of that. It was more just not being involved.
Like, just like a ghost.
It was just, like, I remember when my dad was we were all still living, I had moved back, and we were living at home together, and my dad's sister said, I'll take him. He can come down here for a while and whatever, give you guys a break. And my uncle picked him up, my dad's sister's husband, I think, and brought him down to their house, and it lasted like 4 days, and then they brought him back home. They're like, he's bizarre.
I feel like we've heard that in other stories too, of people being like, they're fine, and then they actually live it and they're like, they're not fine.
I don't want to do this anymore. And it wasn't like, I get it, I see what you guys are talking about. It was just like, we're gonna drop him off. And we were like, okay.
So it wasn't like a big emotional
No, and it wasn't even
fight.
Like argumentative. We were just like, okay. And they were like, okay. And we were like, okay. And they were like, okay. Like, it wasn't a fight. It wasn't, what are we going to do next?
Yeah.
It wasn't, how are we going to help Frank, or how can I support you since you have to, now I see. It was just like, here. I don't know. We didn't have these like big blowout slamming doors. It just kind of like faded away. Like the thing that I knew, like Easters and Christmases, like we weren't invited anymore. And then my dad was placed in a facility, and we didn't talk to my dad's family, my dad's siblings.
Did they have something to say about that choice?
Yeah, they didn't like anything we did.
Right.
Which is fine. Like, again, it's their opinion. It's the way that they see it. And in my head, I'm like, okay, but you're not here. You're not living it.
Right.
So you can say all you want to say, but I'm the one making the decisions because
Right.
you're 45 minutes away.
Right.
But I think back then I was angry, and I think it was a little misconstrued because I was still the child, and I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me from issues, and then it just sort of shifted where I became like, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't want him in a room and board. I want him placed in a proper facility, and I want him cared for a certain way. And I think the thing that hurt me the most, probably, I mean, I could list a few other things, but was once he was placed and everything kind of fell into an order, nobody visited him. And that was really hard. And if they did, it was once every 3 months. Maybe it was more at the beginning, but as he progressed and just sort of like disappeared into himself, he just kind of spent a lot of his time alone, which then I felt like I had to pick up the slack because
Right.
I wanted a certain level for him. I wanted a certain life. And then I grew resentful.
Yeah. Did it make you see those family members in a different way, seeing how they didn't show up for him? Did it make it hard to have a relationship?
Yes, I think so. Yes, it did. And it wasn't, I think what I've learned on this side and like taking time and space and all of that is like, it wasn't that I had to do more work or I had to go visit him more or I had to get his razors or, you know, fill in the blank. It was, I wanted more for him.
Right.
And he couldn't say, my so-and-so hasn't come
Right.
in 2 weeks. Like, it just, there's a level of, in my mind, that's like just what you do. And that's when I learned, like, not everybody sees a situation like me. That's not what they do. That's what I do. And instead of spending my time blaming or getting angry or that, I just chose like, okay, I'm just going to do what I think is right. And now that he's gone, there's no like, oh, I wish I would have. Sure, I wish I could have spent more time with him, but we've talked about it.
Right.
Balancing and caregiving and raising kids and blah. I did what I could. It's really tough because there's an expectation. And I think when I let go of the expectation of whoever, his sister, his brother, my mom, my aunt, it just became more peaceful for me. And sometimes, most of the time, for me, when I have to let go of an expectation of somebody, I just need a little bit of space from that person. So there was a point in my journey where I didn't talk to my mom for a few months. And I still don't talk to her, that side of the family, because I didn't like the support I got.
Right.
I didn't like the way it all just, it felt like a tornado, you know? And anytime that I had to try to explain myself, or it just became very whirlwindy. And I didn't want to spend my caregiving time like that. I wanted my caregiving time to be about the person I was caregiving for.
Yeah. That reminds me of not a family member, but I mean, it was a friend that was like family. I felt like she was the first person that I told that I thought something was wrong with my mom, and really confided. And as I got the little bits and pieces from like the PCP appointment and whatever, and I would share, and she was growing up kind of always uncomfortable with emotion. I don't know why she liked me. We were literally like attached to the hip growing up, and my mom was so good to her. And I feel like she couldn't handle what was happening. And unfortunately, because I, you know, as time went on and I'm like, okay, I got to move, and okay, we got to figure out the care, and the demands of care were like so much in the beginning of like keeping her safe and getting all the information, like, you know, you know, that time when you're just like,
Yes. Yes. Panic.
and I feel like I had to just cut it off. Like, it was like, you know, when you just have so much you have to focus on that's like emergent, that you're just like, that's just going to fall off the list. I just like had to see my life in this way of like, almost like trimming the fat. I know that sounds so bad. And it hurt me for a really long time, just the fallout of it all. And I think, I'm sure I could have handled some things differently, but I was like, basically, like, you're on this with me or you're not. And she was not. And so I was just like you said, like, I need space, you know?
Yeah.
And that was a really hard part of the whole journey. I felt like I was grieving some relationships that I thought would be lifetime relationships, that this situation revealed that the relationships weren't as deep or two-sided as I thought they were. And I think it's really hard too when you just feel like, especially at that time, like no one really understands the disease. And so
we didn't even understand.
Yeah,
the
we
disease.
didn't. Because
It's
like,
not funny. Didn't mean to giggle.
but I kept saying like this is progressive. Like you need to come up here and see her. Like it's gonna change. Like you want to talk to her, you want to interact with her, like you need to come. And it was like, that's too hard for me. And I'm like, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I get pregnant and there's like this happy time coming, and then it's like, oh, well, I want to be a part of that. Well, no, you don't get to pick and choose that you're going to be a part of this happy time, but you don't want to be a part of that time. And it's kind of a little cutthroat, but like when I say I grieved that relationship and that was really hard for me, it doesn't mean that I didn't know it was the absolute right thing to do.
Of course.
Why don't we take a quick break and we'll be right back.
I think it's important, first of all, to be transparent. And there was a point in my dad's journey where my mom made the decision for a multitude of reasons to leave him. And this wasn't like we woke up one day and she was like, I'm done, like, see ya around. It was months and months of like, something's wrong, something's not right. He won't go see a doctor. We can't put our finger on it. Like, what is going on? What is going on? And I think there was the like last and final straw was like, you need to go to get help, or you need to, because at that point he was drinking. We thought maybe alcoholism. So you need to go get clean. You need to go get help. You need to see a doctor. And if you don't, and this was like, I would say like a year and a half after the bizarre behavior started. And my dad was like, let me help you pack. Like, I'm not going. And so my mom, I remember she was like, what do I do? You know, like I told him I was leaving and he's like, you know, peace out. So she left, filed for divorce, and then we got the diagnosis after. And I think the fairy tale happy ending little girl was like, well, now we know why, so it's time for you to go back and take care of my dad. I'll help. And that is not the road that she chose. She chose to stay away from him. Not like that. She chose to remain divorced and sort of take a back seat to his care. And therefore, being the only child, I thought, this is my time to shine. No, I thought, I'm going to make sure my dad is cared for. And I think at that point, I sort of understood, like, because it was so, and when I say chaotic, I don't mean like loud and overwhelming. I mean just that feeling inside of you of like, I know something is wrong and I can't. It's like when your kids start to get sick and you're like, why do you have a fever? Is it going to be norovirus or is it going to be COVID? So that feeling was so pervasive for us that I thought, okay, let's like let her have a little time. And then once she kind of gets her bearings, and then, you know, year after year, it just became more apparent that they were never going to be my parents again. Like it was my mom and my dad. There was like a separate, and I think when he was alive and we were going through it, I understood it a little bit more, maybe because it was like front and center. I don't know. But then when he died, my mom and I like sort of fell apart, and the relationship became extremely strained. And I think it's because we traveled two different journeys a little bit. I dug my feet in and tried to understand what I could about this, and she sort of turned the other cheek in a way. And she would tell me, like, you have no idea how difficult this is. And I didn't, because it's not my husband, it's my dad.
Right.
And I think after the death and the just like solid ending, I realized, like, I'm really angry. I took a lot of time to just figure out, like, what are all these feelings, and why do I feel strained when I'm with her, and why do I have this like nagging feeling of like, we need a minute. And I took it, and it was a big chunk of time that I needed to sift through all of it. And I communicated very openly, I think, with her about what I was going through and the feelings I had. And I will say she was respectful of the space that I needed, and I really appreciated that. I think when you realize that your parents are just people,
They're humans.
and they don't, make the world go round. It's
Frankie did.
I mean, Frank
okay.
did, and I do for my kids. I'm sorry. Okay, Cinderella. I think it's a really hard pill to swallow to realize, like, she's gonna make mistakes and he's gonna make mistakes, and this isn't a fairy tale, and
Right.
it doesn't always end happily. And I think if I were to have her in a room alone and I asked, would you do it differently? I think the answer would be yes. But it makes me sad that we see the world so differently.
Yeah.
And I want her, nothing more for her than to be happy.
Yeah, I know
And I think she has a support system in her sister and a few really close friends, and I think that she can open up to them really, really well.
Right.
But I think for the two of us, watching my dad die for 10 years just took a toll on our relatability. And then we were talking about yesterday, when you're a parent or becoming a parent and you look back on your childhood and you're like, well, I'm never going to tell my kids that.
Right.
And you end up doing it,
Yeah,
right?
of course
Because
you
we're
do.
just mirrors. I think it's a really tough spot that we put each other in. And as much as I thought our relationship was open and communicative, it wasn't. We didn't talk a lot about my dad's care and choices, and we just sort of avoided these tough conversations, which led to us not being able to be together. And now, we have a copacetic relationship. She sees my kids, I see her, but you can tell there's just a little bit of, I don't know the word. I don't want to say tension because there's a negative connotation, but there's just a little unease between the two of us. And I don't want that, and I don't think she does, but we don't know how to talk to each other. We see the world so differently, and we see the situation so differently, that I think it's tough. And I don't know. It's a really delicate subject, and it's something I think a lot of people struggle with. We hear stories where families are great and they all support each other, and so comes over to help care, and
I feel like there was one.
It was in this last season.
Yeah, it
the
was.
new
I'm
wife,
thinking of the same. Yeah. the new wife and
Yeah, they like take
ex-wife.
turns.
Yeah.
I think out of everything that I've learned is avoiding the hard conversations don't make the conversations go away.
Right.
You know, it makes it harder to talk about things the more you prolong it. And difficult decisions or seeing things so different, it makes it so much more difficult when, if you could all come together and have that come to Jesus meeting, it might make things better.
So just to shift gears a little bit, I've learned so much from you as we talk on the phone almost every day. A lot of these conversations, I'm like, should be recording this. What?
Minus when you went to Greece.
She's never going to forgive me for going to Greece. Okay. It was a few weeks. It was a month. Okay.
It was a month.
So
Completely different time zone.
There's some things I can think of distinctly that you have taught me through figuring out my family dynamics, figuring out leaning into my core four.
Core four.
So I have my answers, but I'm going to ask you first. Like, are there things that you've learned from me or things that we've worked through together in the last 5 years that are like little tidbits?
Yeah. Yes. I've learned them, but I haven't put them into action because I'm afraid. Because I'm a baby. You are, and I don't know if you've always been like this. Maybe it's therapy in Zoloft, but I think you are a person who, if you have, not a problem, but if you have like, that doesn't work for me. Like, you are very comfortable saying that. And in my family, that you couldn't do that. Like, you go along. We're going to family Seder, and you can't say you don't want to go.
Okay.
And we're going here, and you just, and there are things that have come up in the past that I've said, this happened. And in my defense, you'll say, but that's not what you wanted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I know. But I'm whatever. Nervous, scared, don't want to ruffle feathers. So you have helped me see the other side. We talked about that at the beginning of the episode.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. Just full circle. I think you've also shown me like you're allowed to have an opinion, and you can voice it in a way that's kind, respectful, not sarcastic. You've really encouraged me to like stop putting myself behind like Benny. Like, I deserve to say I don't.
Your feelings matter.
Yeah. Like, we have a bedtime shuffle that Maria has seen, and it's long.
It's not that long.
It feels so long. When it hits like 7:45 p.m., I'm like, it's gonna start. And like, there are nights, I'm sorry, that I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to do the word search, and I don't want to read Boxcar Kids. And you've taught me like, your kids are going to be okay if you don't do it for one night.
Right.
But in my head, I'm like, they need routine and they need structure and they need their mom. Like, I think you've just given me a different perspective of like, you don't have to, and I don't like dumb myself down, but I don't have to just like become meek and like go in.
Your needs matter.
Yes.
Your feelings matter.
In the short and sweet answer, that's what it is. But I think there's more to it. Like, you've shown me like I can voice and say what I need to say. It doesn't have to just live inside me.
Right.
And that's really hard for me to do. And I try to go back and think like, what was my dad's childhood like? Is that what he was taught? Like, you can't take up space. Is that what my mom was taught as a child? Like, it's all coming down
Right,
from
right,
something.
right.
And I try to see where it is. Like, how did I learn that I just have to like grin and bear it, you know? Is it Nick? I just, it's a really, I think family is a, is a blessing and a curse. So I know what it's like to do this as an only child. And I would say I got through it. Don't know if I'd say I shined, but you know.
You shined.
I sometimes wonder, like, if this is coming for me, what are my kids going to do? You know, are they going to come together? Are they going to fall apart? Do you have advice or knowledge of, like, how do you sift through this when there's more than one person? Like, did you guys have meetings? Did you, like,
We tried.
how do you, it was just like, this is what we're doing.
It's so hard because I think just the shock of the diagnosis and the timing, and we were all like kind of left the nest, like just freshly. Like, I just got married, my brother just got married, my sisters, I think, were in college, and so it's very hard. Like, the family was starting to spread their wings, and then we're kind of trying to come back together, and my dad is very military, you know, guy, and so, and we're all very deep. I think I can fairly say Leah's kids are deep feeling children. She taught us we could take up some space. She let us take up a lot of space.
All of you?
All of us. I mean,
Oh
I don't.
my God. Leah is a saint.
I know. Well, she really is.
I mean, how, you saw this morning. Like, how do you, it takes up so much. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know. Some people I just, I don't.
I think
don't
it's
know.
like Marilyn. Nick's mom is the same. Like, when my kids just, one of them in particular, takes up a ton of space. And she's just like accepting.
Yeah.
This is who he is. How can we work
Yeah.
with it? I'm like, we can't change him?
I think, like, she saw everyone's unique. I don't know. There's something very magical about her and the way that her brain worked and the way she was able to individually, like, parent us. And I think that gave, like, her closeness with each of us gave me this illusion that our family was so tight, you know?
Yeah.
Because she was so in tune to all of us. But I feel like, again, this disease, when she could no longer participate in our family the way she did before, she wasn't talking,
Yeah.
you know, it revealed that, like, maybe we weren't, I don't want to say as close, like, we love each other. I love all of them. If any one of them called me right now, I would do probably anything for them, and you'd be like, oh, yeah. You don't need to do that. But, like, I just think I had this illusion of closeness that really just was from my mom. Does that make any sense? But how do I answer your question? I mean, I think because we all have very different personalities, and my mom would talk about that a lot. She'd be like, how did I have 4 kids that are just so insanely different from each other? So how does my dad approach this family tragedy with educating us and figuring out a plan when everybody has different ways of receiving information, digesting information, processing information? And he wasn't normally the communicator of the family. She was the matriarch of, like, this is how we deliver things, this is how we soften things, this is how people, and so he did what he knew, which is he literally had cue cards. And it was, I think, days before Thanksgiving or days after Thanksgiving. And he literally, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
But he literally was like, this is what it is. And, like, reading from, like, a script of, like, he wanted us all got these very, you know how he is.
I know. Do you see my sweatshirt? Yes.
And, you know, he had his bullet points. He was very prepared. And we're all sitting on this couch. And I think he had told, you know, me and one of my siblings are married. So said, you guys go take the dogs for a walk. And it was just like all of us on the couch. And she was sitting there.
What was she doing?
She was just like, you know,
Not
like
vacant.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. I don't have an answer because it's like, everyone's so different.
I know.
And like, I feel like I'm sure I made a lot of mistakes and I'm sure some of my siblings don't like how I took charge. I
know.
Maybe, who knows? Maybe me moving into the house, maybe there was a sibling, and I'm just making this up, I have no idea, that was like, why is she moving in? Why does she get to do that? I want to do that. You know, maybe I was too much.
Oh my gosh.
You don't know.
No, you don't, but it's so opposite. We've had very opposite journeys.
But I think it's I was asking you like what you've learned from me, not because I like to hear
how great you are,
but more just like I think it's really important to have these conversations and to make these connections, because I think sometimes you'll share something with me and I'm like, that's not normal. Like, you know,
yes.
And I'll share something with you and you're like, I mean, that's not normal. Like, not in a, like a shaming way of just like,
it's like a touch point.
Yeah. It's like
a barometer.
No, you're allowed to be upset about that, Maria. Or me being like, Rachel, you can be upset. Like,
yeah,
it's just like, but when you're in your family and you're isolated and you're going through this journey and you don't feel like you have those connections, you're just like festering on things and you just don't know how other people are dealing with it. And like, I don't know, I just think I said it crying on an Instagram post too, like I could not have gotten through this without you and like your support and I think one of the biggest things that you've helped me do in relation to all this family stuff is just like really take the focus off of I'm not going to say this in the best way, but that nuclear family of origin,
yeah,
and put that energy into my little family. And I think it was hard for a while because my family wasn't complete and we were trying so hard for Brenny. And then once that all came together, it was like
nothing else matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even then, like, you know, last year both my sisters got married and it shifted something in me too. Like, okay, she's going to go on this path and she's going to go on that path. And like, and they're going to make their own families. And like, I hope and pray that we all come back together in some way. I mean, they're all at Liam's birthday. That was great. That was wonderful. But like, I hope that they all have peace. And I do think we're all working towards that. And I think it looks different for everyone. I think none of my siblings would ever do a podcast. They would never talk in such a public way. I hope they all know they could come on the podcast at any time. But I just think we're all going to sort through it differently. But I hope in the end, you know, that there's still love and we can be together.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you want to learn more about Remember Me, you can go to remembermeftd.com. We love getting new Instagram followers, so follow us on Instagram at Remember Me Podcast. And please consider joining our Patreon. It's a great way to support the podcast and get extra content. For example, our Patreon just got an extended version of this episode dropped a day early for them. So you can go to patreon.com/remembermecommunity. This podcast is produced by Rachel Martinez and Maria Kent Beers, And the beautiful music you hear is a song called So Damn Lucky by Daily Kent.